What is up, guys? Toss a coin here, and today I will be reviewing Enshrouded. I'm going to be giving my honest opinions on the game itself, and also make a couple comparisons to Valheim, which is a game that it clearly takes some inspiration from, and a game I am very familiar with. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. The game is good. Alright, for everyone that just wants to know whether the game is good or bad, in my opinion, it's a good game. You don't have to go far to figure that out. Steam reviews are currently very positive. The devs have sold over 1 million copies within 4 days from release, and Enshrouded currently has an 8 out of 10 rating on IGN. However, if you would like to know the good, the bad, and the ugly of Enshrouded, then just keep watching. Probably the coolest aspect of Enshrouded for me is that using magic is pretty much a playstyle right from the get-go, which is something I wish Valheim offered. Like, at least give me magic by the Black Forest. The magic system feels much more fleshed out than Valheim, and the spell system is a nice touch to not need to carry 4 different staffs for spells. On top of that, you can live out your little Hogwarts fantasies because you get to use wands as well, which basically functions as the basic attack for mages. The problem with this is it feels like the devs spent so much time getting their magic right that they forgot about their other 2 playstyles, especially ranged. Bow users are absolutely struggling with the upkeep of arrows. You cannot use a bow as your main weapon without being willing to put in a significant amount of time for farming, especially as you progress further into the game. Whereas for magic, you have your wand that will pew pew till it breaks, and you can unlock eternal spells for the staff that allow you to cast spells as much as you want, and you are only limited by your staff's durability and your mana bar. Simple fix: don't nerf magic, but add something like an eternal quiver where it takes a lot of resources to craft, but the player has an access to an unlimited amount of arrows for the quiver type once crafted. Melee isn't in nearly as bad of a spot as range players. It just sucks having to parry some enemies 3 to 4 times in a row just to get them staggered, especially when you are fighting more than one enemy at a time. Also, while I'm at it, it could be latency, it could be my PC, but the animations and when damage comes out could use some tightening up. Nothing quite like parrying an attack but still taking damage, because the narrow parry window is basically as you take damage. And don't get me started on the matron that does damage before animation even finishes. On to the next topic. Enshrouded has a beautiful handcrafted world, and exploring it is fun. Gliders and grapple hooks instantly make a game a 6 out of 10. Not to mention, it is so nice being able to teleport home no matter what is in my inventory. I do not miss the 30-minute boat rides home on Valheim, where everybody is either on their phone or all tabbed waiting to get home. Enshrouded isn't forcing travel time to be a part of the gameplay loop, and I like that a lot. Adding on to that, scouring the map to find hidden chests and scrolls that give me extra lore in the world is a ton of fun. Probably my favorite moment in this game so far was when I found the sword called Hail Scourge, because I was given a bit of story and lore from a note, and then I had to go and find the location of the weapon based upon the note. It is just so hard to have moments like that in a procedurally generated world like Valheim. The issue Enshrouded could run into would maybe be replayability. I don't see this being the case because there are plenty of static world games like Conan Exiles that I've put plenty of hours into. Also, according to the devs, we are only seeing 30% of the world. So if they don't take over a year for every map expansion, like another game I know of, then they should be able to hold their players' interest for quite some time. My least favorite part of Enshrouded so far is I don't feel like I'm working towards any major goals, or maybe I don't feel like I have accomplished any major goals. It's going to be hard to put this into words, so Valheim will be my example. In Valheim, you spend your entire time in a biome working towards beating the next major boss because your progression is locked behind winning that fight. And when you do win that fight, you feel like you've just accomplished something huge. And there is also now a feeling of uncertainty, as you are unsure of what the next biome will bring. After I beat a boss in Enshrouded, I don't really feel like anything changes, except maybe now I can go a little further into the world that was gated by the mist. And although the landscape might change, the dangers I face don't really feel all that different. I just end up fighting stronger versions of the same enemies I have faced for the last 2 or 3 biomes, but maybe with some slight variations. Not to mention, one of the more annoying but rewarding aspects of Valheim was learning how to survive and contend with each new biome you enter. This is basically non-existent in Enshrouded as it stands. Which brings me to, Enshrouded is more of an action-adventure RPG with light survival elements rather than a survival-focused game. There are really only 2 major dangers that you contend with: enemies and the Shroud. Enemies are only a threat when exploring. Your home is never under attack, and there is never a sense of unease while at home. The Shroud is more like a mild inconvenience, because you have more than enough shroud time, especially with skills in later levels, and the enemies are no tougher than the ones you would find outside the shroud. The shroud should feel dangerous, The enemies in the Shroud should be more plentiful and stronger. I should be a little hesitant to enter the Shroud unprepared. That currently isn't the case. I feel like so far I've been pretty critical, so I'd like to end this on a high note because I do genuinely enjoy playing this game. From the moment I turned the game on, I was hooked. The musical score made me feel like I was about to embark on a grand adventure, and so far I have. The world is beautiful, the exploration is fun, the combat, despite its issues, feels engaging, and the skill tree adds build diversity. If you enjoyed Valheim, I think it is likely you will find yourself enjoying Enshrouded. I would maybe say this game is closer to games like Elden Ring or Breath of the Wild, but it definitely has inspirations from Valheim. This typically isn't the style of video I would do, but I do hope this review has helped you out on whether or not you should choose to play Enshrouded. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see next, and as always guys, see you next time.